For visual novel fans, Nitroplus is immediately recognizable, with genre-defining classics like Seiya no Yuta and Fullmetal Daemon Miramasa. So, what happens when a developer known for these kind of titles branches out with an action platformer? I guess you get this. Rusty Rabbit, an adventure conceptualized by Gen Urobuchi of Madoka Magica and Fate Zero fame. Since the game's initial reveal and the announcement that Takaya Kuroda, the Japanese voice of Like a Dragon's protagonist Kazuma Kiryu, this title has undoubtedly been met with significant curiosity from the gaming community. I dove in unsure what to expect, which actually led me to a genuinely delightful and memorable adventure despite a few rough edges.
That's funny. The temperature is rising. More than the geothermal energy here ought to account for.
Oh, hi, Gramps! It's dangerous up ahead, old Rusty.
Is it now? So you've already scouted it out?
Rusty Rabbit occurs in an alternate universe of Earth that has entered a new ice age, prompting humanity to abandon it. Consequently, rabbit kind has inherited the planet, forming a revised civilization that is basically akin to what human society once was. Some of these rabbits make their living as rust diggers, with the narrative taking root in the ruins known as Smokestack Mountain. In this role, one explores the remnants of the world, which consists of technology and items recognizable from humankind's past. One day, Stamp, an older and experienced rust digger, runs into a rust digging team known as the BBs.
We're the BBs, a crew of rust grubbers just like yourself.
Eventually leading him towards an unexpectedly personal investigation regarding his own family. While Rusty Rabbit is an action-adventure, the developer's visual novel roots are clear on display. Beyond the frequent cutscenes involving Stamp and the BBs, there are multiple mechanics that emphasize textual interactions. For instance, the diner in the hub area features patrons you gift food items to, prompting conversations that help you learn more about them while also yielding practical items to use in gameplay. Another avenue of interaction is the church, a trove of lore where you learn about the world through religious contexts that focus on the so-called giants, which is what the rabbits call the humans. The characters throughout Rusty Rabbit are a central highlight, with genuine heart seeping through various interactions. Stamp in particular stands out because of his magnificent voice performance and endearing characterization.
今はただのウサギ。老いぼれのウサギだ。
His Japanese voice actor will likely receive the most attention, but the English performance is also pretty excellent. Granted, some of the supporting cast suffers from stilted or awkward English deliveries, yet Stamp alone can make the language choice worthwhile if you opt for that route. His mildly grumpy yet generous nature shines when he's with the BBs, making him a valued mentor figure. One aspect I particularly appreciated was how Stamp naturally imparts pieces of the rust digging experience to the BBs during exploration, showcasing his experience in ways that feel entirely organic. The gradually revealed story of Stamp's past is gripping, although the greatest draw is undoubtedly the slice-of-life flavor found in many of the interactions that you come across. As for the supporting cast, they can occasionally be one note in their comedic bits or goals, but their on-screen banter with Stamp remains engaging and can venture into offbeat topics like taxes. In terms of gameplay, Rusty Rabbit has you explore primarily linear dungeons in Smokestack Mountain while piloting a robot. The most obvious hallmark of the Mech is the control scheme, which can take some time to grasp since it's not immediately intuitive. Managing distance is paramount because close-range attacks tend to leave you vulnerable after you use them. Rushing in and spamming attacks often leads to taking a lot of damage. This constant emphasis on positioning makes combat layered, though movement can be frustrating in the early hours. Learning to handle the dangers of falling from great heights is also crucial, as it temporarily stuns your movement speed. Thankfully, a variety of consumables can be purchased to cure status ailments and restore health, so progression never feels too punishing. Still, brute-forcing encounters often leads to trouble, especially since status effects can greatly compromise your combat capabilities or mobility, ultimately reinforcing the importance of caution. Notable maneuvers include a dash and wall jump, with the latter being critical for progression. However, the robot's controls introduce a learning curve, particularly in crowded scenarios where precision is key. Another integral facet of Rusty Rabbit is the multifaceted growth system. Crafting weapons and tools is vital for keeping pace with stronger enemies. Some obstacles can even be destroyed only while wielding certain weapon types, so equipment choices occasionally matter outside of combat, even though fighting remains the main focus. Fortunately, the map helps by clearly indicating which paths you have to explore, reducing the likelihood of feeling lost. There's also a pretty straightforward skills tree, with experience points gained from defeating enemies and digging up certain blocks during dungeons. Further, specially colored blocks may grant items. And there's the tree that provides useful boons that make dungeon traversal less demanding, such as reducing how often you suffer from debilitating status effects. At first glance, the digging mechanic might appear uninteresting, but it turns out to be far more satisfying than expected. Strong audio design and a pleasant sense of impact make digging through multiple blocks in succession feel rewarding, and one special technique lets you briefly soar while destroying several blocks in your vicinity. The entire process is surprisingly addictive, which is crucial to keeping the game's pacing enjoyable. Rusty Rabbit's major strengths are especially noticeable thanks to the light Metroidvania components peppered throughout each dungeon, but at times it seems like the game does not quite reach its full potential. This limitation is perhaps the most evident in dungeons themselves, which can feel a little too brief despite their entertaining and distinct designs. The quests that you pick up are also influenced by this pacing, as some require you to defeat a certain number of enemies, meaning you may need to revisit earlier areas. On the bright side, these dungeons are relatively compact and contain multiple fast travel points, so retraversing them is not overly tedious. Additionally, there's an unlockable feature that lets you tackle different kinds of randomly generated mini-dungeons for extra rewards, allowing you to dive deeper if you crave more action. I still wish the mandatory sections offered more substantial content, though that is arguably better than having them overly padded. One of the more notable drawbacks is the crafting system. Although crafting itself is simple, gathering the necessary materials feels cumbersome because of the unrefined menus and general lack of clarity. For instance, the hub shops might carry what you need, but swapping through several menus to confirm items becomes a little tiresome. Buying everything directly from Stamp's home would have been more convenient and saved a good deal of time. I should also mention that Rusty Rabbit is well optimized on the Switch, usually maintaining a stable frame rate in both docked and handheld modes. Initially, the game was only announced for PlayStation and PC, with a delay that coincides with the introduction of a Switch version. It seems the extra period was used to hone the Switch's release, and it shows in the current form. Rusty Rabbit stands as a refreshingly straightforward dungeon crawler adventure that excels in its tense action moments, where precise movement is critical. Between the steady stream of meaningful rewards and the strong character dynamics, there's much to fall in love with here. Even if some of the extended cast members and occasionally messy UI can dampen parts of the experience, these flaws can usually be overlooked when you consider everything the game gets right. Noisy Pixel is giving Rusty Rabbit an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.